All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined here today with Jessie Young, Director of Consumer Marketing at Eventbrite, Michelle Miller, Senior Vice President of Global Marketing at K18, and Lexie Barnhorn, Head of Influencer Marketing at Notion. And so to get started, Lexie, I'd love to start off with you. As a planner myself, I constantly see Notion on all my different algorithms from TikTok to YouTube, creators talking about it in both an organic way and in a planned strategic way. I was wondering if you could give some examples of how brands can go about crafting a compelling story that highlights their mission and their product offering on social.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. And this is something we're always thinking about at Notion because we have millions of users who use our product. And so to craft a compelling story, I think about it as like we are all being bombarded daily by the amount of ads we're seeing, the amount of brands we're seeing, the billboards, the podcasts. Like I think I probably see over 100 ads a day. And so I think of it as like your brand can yell at the consumer as much as you want. But what it really like connects with them is if you're more so like user first. And so to craft compelling stories at Notion, we like to amplify our users. And at Notion as well, we contribute all of our success to our community. We have a very dedicated community across like every continent. Like I think we're literally in every country. We have a tracker of our community, and we like to amplify their stories. And as an influencer marketer, like I've had bosses and I always tell them, or like if I'm interviewing for a job, I'm like, if you're just going to tell me to give an influencer a script, it's not going to work because that is not what they want to do, what I want to do. And so I think the magic is taking your brand messaging and then putting it in the influencer's brand voice, because then like people actually believe it and it's authentic. And so we are very community first. And so I feel that is what like tells the compelling stories, because you're hearing from someone you trust versus like I'm getting paid to promote Notion because I work at Notion, where these people in our community are using it in their free time and they honestly know the product better than I do. And so we really like to amplify them to showcase these compelling stories.
Yeah, I love that part about not giving influencers a script. I feel like you can always tell when someone's like reading off a piece of paper and kind of like deadpan to the camera. So that's awesome. Michelle, I'm curious if you could walk us through some strategies for building a brand story that's authentic and sort of like resonates with the consumer.
Yeah, so K18 launched 3 years ago with a disruptive technology from biotech. We are able to reverse hair damage in minutes. Being able to tell that story was one of the most important things when we launched as an unknown brand. So we really leaned into the niche of hairstylists. So who was going to be the best people to be able to tell the story of K18, talk about the science and the technology, and then show how it actually reverses hair damage in minutes. So the way we actually went about finding them was searching the Hair Talk hashtag on TikTok. And we saw that there was white space at the time, 3 years ago, of brands talking about hair on the platform. So we were able to move quickly, reach the right people to be able to tell that story. So that includes hairstylists, but it also includes science influencers and creators that were really passionate about the product. And today, 3 years later, we are the #1 hair mask on Sephora and on Amazon and SalonCentric. So it's really worked.
Yeah. That's awesome. Jessie, it would be great to hear from you on how creators can help facilitate the brand's voice, especially like the brand's perception shift and what the brand wants to be known for. Could you talk about some of the strategies at Eventbrite that's worked for you?
Of course. Can everybody hear me okay? It's quite loud back there. All right. So Eventbrite doesn't really have a brand awareness problem. Everybody in this room is at an Eventbrite event. This is an Eventbrite event. So most people, if I asked 10 of you, 9 of you would say you think Eventbrite is a logo on a ticket. It's a transactional company that helps what we call creators, event planners, make their events. It's just a checkout, essentially. And we're completely flipping the business on its head. You've probably, if you have followed the brand, we've made some shift this year, and we are going to become essentially a consumer marketplace. Now, how does a brand with incredible brand awareness completely change the way people think about us? And then through that, through changing the way they perceive us, we want them to habitually use us differently as a discovery platform. And so we actually put all of our eggs in the creator basket, and we used influencers to start that shift and made incredible headway with the creators this year. Because when they were the ones, it's the people who authentically go out and look for things to do are the ones telling you that Eventbrite is the coolest place to find cool shit in your area. That's who they follow.
Yeah.
And we've seen incredible results because of that. So I would follow your brand strategy, find the influencers that lines up with that, and they are the ones that are the tip of the spear for a big shift like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that kind of leads me into my next question. Like, which specific metrics are important to pay attention to with these influencer programs that you're implementing in mind? How do you measure this awareness with social, and what kind of metrics and things are you guys looking at? And maybe Lexie, we could start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so my previous 2 jobs, this was not intentional, but they were both startups. And so metrics are definitely always the topic of conversation. It's how we get budget, it's how we prove ROI. And so metrics for influencer marketing, it's hard. Move it up. The mic up? Sorry. So metrics are always something, we're thinking about. And so I think with influencer marketing, of course, you have the conversion metrics on the growth side. So how many signups are you driving through those influencers you're working with? But I've been doing this since 2017. And so people love to use influencer links. Like back in the day, like we saw a really strong ROI. We saw extremely low like customer acquisition costs. We're like, this is great. And then, everyone remembers like code James, code this. And so it was very top of mind for people. But I will say over time, the conversion metrics through the actual links, especially with platforms like TikTok, it's gone down. And we've even run studies internally where I think only like 30% of conversions are actually tracked through influencer links. And so I'm a big believer in a how'd you hear about us survey, because it's great on the brand side as well, on the brand marketing side, because things like billboards, commercials, they aren't as easily tracked as like a paid YouTube ad. And so a how'd you hear about us survey, that's like my saving grace. Unfortunately, Notion doesn't have one. So that's a little hard because I don't want to add frictions to the product, which I understand completely. But we do a quarterly love survey is what we call it. And so we take a segment of our new users and we send them a survey. And I think if they complete it, we plant a tree for them or something random. So there's there's an incentive there. And through that, we're able to see those awareness metrics, and we're able to see, okay, maybe influencer metrics were down as far as like signups because we did a huge TikTok, push that month. But actually we're seeing in the love survey that TikTok is the top referrer for all of our new signups. And we've even seen this on the B2B side. Like, we run a lot of enterprise campaigns. We run a lot of, like more B2B centric stuff, which, isn't the fun part of influencer marketing. Like we partner with these like LinkedIn influencers, but it works. And people actually like look to those people as their friend, and they're like, okay, I actually trust this product now because I heard it from someone who's credible. And so I love a love survey and the how'd you hear about us survey, because I'm like, that gives me more budget because I can be like, yeah, the metrics were down, but here we have these additional metrics off to the side that we can pull from.
And then when K18, we're omni-channel, so when we're looking at ROI, we're really looking at it from an omni-channel perspective. And what I tend to look at is earned media value, but then also how's traffic omni-channel, and then how's paid search for the brand, or how is search going for the brand overall. And we've seen when we are doubling down in the creator economy, when we are on fire with campaigns and our EMD is very high, we see that ripple effect from an omni-channel perspective. And then I also want to say, and I think Jessie will get into this too, is for us, we're really looking at influencers and social media to propel the brand, not as much so in performance marketing. We do performance marketing, but as a young brand, we're looking to drive brand awareness at the top of the funnel. So what we've seen is, even though a big percentage of our budget goes towards paid partnership, I think it's actually something around that 30% mark, only 1% of our content out there is sponsored. So what we're seeing is we're investing heavily, but we're investing in the right way. We're getting a ton of earned media value, and we're seeing that ripple effect in all of our channels.
I do want to note, I think that your consumer funnel is what's going to drive where you're putting your money, whether it's awareness, consideration, or acquisition. So all three of us have different business models. And so look at your business model strategically. Eventbrite's getting 1 billion visits to its website a year. We don't have a traffic issue. So when I go to the executive team and say, look at what our influencers are driving, they're like 0.0005% of the traffic.
Yeah.
That's not a story in tech that you can tell and keep your job. So you want to show other ways. Brand perception lift studies is amazing. Tech people don't care. Sorry, excuse my language. They don't give a shit about brand perception. It's brand lift. So what you have to sell is efficiency. And what we do at Eventbrite is when I spend X in New York City on brand activities like influencers, the ROAS of my performance marketing has gone up. So when you tie the full funnel together and see how all the activities lead to a very well-oiled attribution strategy, that's when I think you can sell through and actually measure. But brand you can actually attach to other metrics, and I think that's like the important part that the three of us are trying to tell everybody.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good thing to touch on. Is just like all three of you are looking at it from a different way, just based on who you're trying to reach and just like the product that you have. So, I think that's really fascinating. And to follow up on that, Michelle, I'd love if you could speak with us about building a brand around a niche. And you touched on this a little bit earlier with Hair Talk. And K18 has sort of dominated the TikTok hair space, and dozens of creators filming both organically and in a planned campaign way about the product, what it's like, how they use it. I'm wondering if you could talk about that niche.
Yeah, I'd love to. So starting with our niche, we really look at our influencer strategy as almost like this loop of trust. And it starts with our professional community, and they really drive that credibility, that trust. They're getting the most probably value out of the product. And then we have our creators who are really moving culture. And this can be from your large creators like an Alex Earl, but we even had a smaller creator recently go very viral. She had bleached her hair. It was falling off in the shower. I think she was at 60 million views when I had seen it organically. One of our ambassadors, who's a hairstylist, saw the video, stitched it. We were actually able to help get the creator who had lost most of her hair from this at-home bleach job, fly her to LA, where in the meantime she had used K18 for the damage, and then she was able to showcase the story in real time on TikTok, and then that also went viral, which was amazing. And then our amazing team pitched it to our press agency, who got it also out in traditional PR. So it was really starting with the niche, but really powering this flywheel of advocacy between professionals and consumers. And then, it works on the micro and macro levels.
I'll jump in there. And by the way, I saw that whole TikTok journey and I was like, this is genius. And now her hair looks gorgeous. And so I love like those really strong brand stories where brands can hop on really quickly to something that's going on and like really see a lot of benefits from it. But from a niche community perspective, so Notion is a product that you can have on your laptop, and a lot of people in the world have a laptop, right? And so it's kind of our goal to get Notion on every laptop. Like we almost even want it to be a default when someone even opens their laptop. And so from there, it's like, how do you do that? And I'm a big believer in these niche communities because I actually learned a lot when I worked in skincare where, okay, I work in skincare. I'm going to go after skincare influencers. They do really well. But it's like you hit a time where it's like, okay, now I think I've partnered with every skincare influencer in the US. What do I do? Everyone has skin. And so it's like I would look at these niche communities, and I'm a big test and learn like strategy. And so I had a lot of people coming to me being like, this influencer's kind of a bet. Their name is Thrift Thick or something random. She's just about thrifty products. I'm like, okay, what better than a subscription service skincare that's cheap and you don't have to go to the dermatologist? And like that video just took off. Like she performed better than some of like the influencers that I maybe spent $100,000 on. And so that to me is when it kind of clicked for niche communities. And at Notion, it's like we see so much success from these little niche communities. Like Danielle on my team, who's in the audience, recently partnered with an influencer. It was a Dungeons and Dragons influencer. And normally I would be like, why are we paying this money for this? This is kind of weird. I don't know how they're going to do this. But no, we're blown away because it's like their community is really engaged. He made a template. He's adding value to his audience. He's giving them a place to track their Dungeon and Dragon stats. They didn't have this previously. So I'm a big believer in niche communities because I've seen it work extremely well.
We've even actually gone niche within a niche. So with our hairstylist community, we're very focused on colorists because we know that chemical damage starts with bleach and color. And so we see the most from that niche of a niche.
Yeah, I can't triple down on niche, but I can say that we do have to do metro-based niche creators, meaning like people are looking for different things in New York than they are in LA. So that's constantly on my mind. But I also look at curators in these markets as like the pulse of what's happening in that market. And for event ticketing, it's pretty important to find out what's cool and trendy in that area. And I'd love to find a path to have them have a bigger voice integrated into product beyond just marketing, because I think that there's an untapped resource about their point of view as like authentic users, and they can inspire, I think, and bring even better events to Eventbrite.
That's great. Niche with a niche and Dungeons and Dragons influencers. I love it. And to follow up on that, we've been touching a little bit on platforms, but I'm wondering which platforms specifically you all like to focus on. There are so many platforms now. There's so many different apps. Does it depend on your product? Does it depend on the creator you're working with? How do you figure that out?
I think I've tried every influencer platform, so I can speak to this. Like we had a big budget at my last company, so we're like, we're going to find the best one because we kept filtering through a lot of them and kind of hitting a wall. But one thing I'm an advocate for, and I know Creator IQ has this offering, but I'm a big believer in like CRM. If you think about the influencer pipeline, it's basically very similar to a sales pipeline. The only difference is I'm paying these influencers instead of them paying me. And so we set up a traditional CRM. I had it at Curology. I've set it up at Notion. Because there's only so far some of these tools can go where like I need like the traditional CRM structure where it's like I want to put a note. I want to see the emails in that CRM. Like I want to see every single interaction we've had with this influencer so that, hey, I may hire someone on my team tomorrow or I may leave tomorrow. And it's like at least now they have all the context because I don't ever want them to have a bad relationship when they partner with Notion with one of my team members. And so I'm a big CRM for the relationship aspect. I do use Creator IQ, and we used it at my last company as well. And I think it's one of the best discovery tools. I've used them all. We actually like had this crazy data scientist at Curology who tried to scrape them all for us and see who actually has the most influencers. And I'll tell you, it was Creator IQ. So good for you guys. And so I really do like Creator IQ's list features. I love the discovery tools. I haven't been able to find a better one, to be honest. And so that is like two of my tech stack. And then honestly, Notion is amazing for influencer briefs. We were using like Google Docs prior to me working at Notion. Well, at my previous company, of course we use Notion at Notion. But I'm like, this is cute. Like these influencers actually want to read the brief. Like what a treat, you know? So it's like fun because you're giving them a doc that, oh wow, they actually want to read and interact with. And so we use Notion for briefs. And honestly, other than that, besides, getting texts from influencers and using my phone, that's like our tech stack.
I think when it comes to platforms, we really look at what platform is servicing the creator economy or what is, each one is kind of doing different things. So when you think of TikTok, it's really great for discovery and the algorithm. I think YouTube is best in class when it comes to treating creators and giving them the ability to monetize. From a brand perspective, we're all about discovery right now, so I'd say TikTok is very important. But Instagram, we've seen our paid ads work very well, especially from a professional hairstylist community. So I think it's important to dabble and see what works.
I know I said I didn't want to answer this question, but I'm going to. So I would also implore you to look at your product. My product expires pretty quickly, right? After this, the event is over. And so we constantly have to just drum up tons and tons of content that expires. And so I'm telling you to go to this event, and then it goes away. So evergreen campaigns don't work well for Eventbrite. So look at your product. If it's food or something that expires, food's probably not a good example, but if it expires, like TikTok works great for us because it's a flash in the pan, in and out. Big storytelling on YouTube, and doesn't really work for our business. So I would also look at your business strategy and your product and choose the platforms that make sense for your product, not because they're trendy right now.
That's great. And we have just a couple minutes left, so this will be our last question. Feel free, any of you, to jump in. I'm curious, how has finding these creators and influencers changed since the launch of TikTok and like sourcing, as well as the rise of UGC content?
There's too many. I mean, I'm kidding. There's not too many influencers, but there was a time when, you knew who the top influencers were. But going back to niche communities, I mean, there is more influencers than I can even work with. I have more emails coming in my inbox than I can work with, right? And so sourcing influencers, there's no shortage at all. And again, like discovery tools like Creator IQ. But for me, it's like I want everyone who wants to work with Notion to be able to work with Notion. But unfortunately, my team doesn't always have bandwidth. And so we do have an affiliate program that's self-serve. We have found a lot of success with like UGC-driven platforms. So we use one called Kale, and I'm always shouting them out because I'm an affiliate. So if you go to them after this, say, Lexie sent me. But they are one of my favorite like UGC platforms, and I honestly wish I made this product because I know they're going to make a lot of money. And so they launched their UGC challenges with, they do challenges. So it's like I go to them, we're launching Notion AI, like can we spin up some challenges like for this? And then we promote it on our TikTok being like, hey, we're running a challenge. We want to see how you make Notion AI. You were probably already going to post about this anyway, but now you can make money. And their payout model is like by view. So it's like, it's fair. And then I have been running a lot of them in ads, paying a lot of money for these ads. They get 20%. So they have incentive to make their content good. And then from there, I mean, we've been able to get like 200 plus pieces of content a month. And I don't ever spend more than 10K on the platform. So that to me, all these UGC platforms, they are like the future because it really opens it up where anyone can be a creator and they can make money from it, and it can be, a side business. I did one time try a kale challenge to see like, oh, how much money do people get paid for this? I only got 200 views, so I made $3, but that's my Aura Ring subscription. It was 4 Aura Rings, so I just made my subscription back for 5 minutes of my time to make this video, so it's very smart.
I will definitely refer you because we did reach out after I talked to you, so she is an influencer. For us, when it comes to sourcing creators and UGC, I think after TikTok, the world definitely changed with how anyone can be a creator and go viral at any moment. For us, we do everything in-house. So our team is very diverse, on the pulse, young, and they're able to source in real time, who we should be working with, who would be a great fit. And then, we have a really big stylist community that we work with monthly. So that's something that we're constantly building on a global scale.
I would say we are in our infancy of creator strategy at Eventbrite. We're about to end our first year. We are also having a problem. We were B2B, now we're B2C. I would say we're also having a problem of having too many creators. And that is something that we're looking to fix in 2024 because I'm sure there's so many great ones out there. So that's what we're looking to Creator IQ to kind of help us figure out.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.